everybody. Welcome to Spoiler Piece Theater, the podcast that doesn't give a shit about spoilers. We just want to talk about movies. My name is Dave Riedel. My pronouns are he, him. I write for the Chicago Reader, and I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association.
And my name is Megan Kearns. My pronouns are she, her. I write film reviews for Edge Media Network. I, too, am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and I'm a member of Gallica, the Society of LGBTQ Entertainment Critics.
I'll do the salute here for Evan.
Yeah, thank you.
Evan couldn't make it this week because he's got stuff going on. So Megan and I are holding down the fort, which, you know, it's hard to hold down a fort that has three sides when there's only two of you. Hey, it's crazy. So this week on the show, we're going to be talking about movies as we always do. La-di-di-di-di. But before we do that, I wanted to mention that over on ye old Patreon, we talk in our bonus episode about the 1979 nuclear power disaster thriller, The China Syndrome. Great paranoid 70s thriller. Had so much fun doing that. And the first time watch for one of us, a millionth time watch for another one of us. And it's really a great movie, and we had a lot of fun talking about it. So if you are a patron for $5 or more, obviously that is available to you. And if you're not a patron, please consider becoming one, because we have so much fun going on deep dives on movies over on the Patreon. And while we're at it, just wanted to thank our sponsor piece patron, Heather Sachs. Thank you so much, Heather, for being our sponsor piece patron. It really means a lot to us.
Thanks, Heather.
And with that, we will get on to the regular show. Let's see. Got two movies this week. We have the Happy Madison production, You Are So Not Invited to My Botvit. Let me try that again in English. You are so not invited to my bat mitzvah. I almost said bat mitzvah. I don't know what the hell my problem is. Yeah, it's a long title for a movie.
It is a long title.
And then the second movie we're discussing tonight is Sitting in Bars with Cake, which is a very different movie from what you think it's going to be based on the title. So, and I have to admit, when I read the title of that movie, I was like, I'm not seeing that fucking movie. And then I read what it was about, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll see this movie. Cool.
These two movies really do have very unique titles, very much stand out.
I know. This is funny though, thinking about the China Syndrome, you know, which is no, I'm tying this together, I swear to God. So you got the China Syndrome, which is named, it's a movie about a nuclear almost disaster and a cover up and all of that kind of stuff, and it is named after the thing that nuclear people who work in the nuclear field call it when there is a disaster like this. And then you have a movie called Sitting in Bars with Cake. I mean, it's kind of like how, you know, there was that whole period, there's Bad Santa, Bad Teacher, you know, like Girls Night, you know, the names of the movies are just like the thing they are.
Yeah, so basic.
You know, and it's just like, remember when movies had names, you know, it's like movies had titles that were.
I missed those days.
Yeah. Well, it's the other thing I was thinking about. I was watching the China Syndrome. Hey, aside, listeners, we're talking about the Patreon episode. I was watching the China Syndrome last night, and I was thinking to myself, oh my God, this is when they made movies for adults.
Oh.
I mean, not that, you know, we shouldn't enjoy, you know, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, which I mentioned that one because that's my favorite Marvel movie, but it's like, I'm so over all of that shit. You know, at least thank God the Batman went fucking dark. Otherwise, I'd just be like, good Lord. I mean, how many more movies do I have to fucking watch about somebody who puts on fucking makeup to fight crime? God. Anyway, that's another abyss for another time. So let's start things off. How are you doing, Megan? You good tonight?
I'm good.
Okay, good.
I'm about to go on vacation, so I'm really excited.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the format starting next week for Spoiler Piece Theater is going to be a little different, patrons and regular listeners. Just wanted to tell you that it'll be fun, though.
It sure will. I can't wait to listen.
Yeah. So I can't wait to do the show and be, you know, the one who gets to use the word fuck every other word, which I do anyway.
I was like, is
now.
that different than any other week?
No, it's really not. I don't know why I used that as an example. What a dumbass. So anyway,
No. So mean to
so
yourself.
let's start off with you are so not invited to my bat mitzvah. This is a Happy Madison production, which, by the way, when that came up on the screen, I was like, no, I had no idea.
I was like, you didn't know this is the entire Adam Sandler family?
Had no idea.
Oh, wow.
Had no idea. Well, I mean, like, I pay attention to Adam Sandler like I pay attention to, Cream of Wheat. It's just like, it's just kind of there, So...
Adam Sandler, Cream of Wheat.
Yeah. So anyway, so here's the what do you call it? The log line or 2 log lines from IMDb. Stacy and Lydia are BFFs who've always dreamed about having epic bat mitzvahs. However, things start to go comically awry, when a popular boy and middle school drama threatens their friendship and their rite of passage. This is directed by Sammy Cohen. This is written by Alison Peck and Fiona Rosenblum. This stars, as Megan said, the entire Sandler brood and Idina Menzel and Sarah Sherman, which is fun. Luis Guzman has a small role. So it has some real performers in it aside from Adam Sandler's family. And Idina Menzel does not sing, but that's all right.
No, I was sad though.
Did you know that I've never actually heard Let It Go?
What?
I've never heard it. Yeah. I mean, I've heard like pieces of it when they're like, and then the Academy Award winning song, Let It Go. And you hear, let it go. And you hear that part.
I am stunned, speechless. I don't even know I don't even know how to process this. I've heard it so many times. I fucking love that song. I'm obsessed with it. I never get tired of it because I hear people like, I'm tired of it. Nope. Never. My mind is blown. Absolutely.
Well, you know how I feel about musicals.
I know you don't like musicals,
but also the other thing about it,
and she's so good. Anyway,
I'm sure she's fine. The other thing about it though is that I don't watch them, so I have no occasion to see Frozen. My primo and secundo are not into Disney movies. They're into like Donald Duck and Goofy and Pluto, but that's kind of where their love of Disney ends,
I guess, but I do not have children and I watch every Disney movie. So I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But I'm also interested and you are not. You do not love musicals or animation as much. Right. So yes.
Yeah. I mean,
but even Frozen is amazing. It's lovely.
Even the Disney movies that I do love, like Pinocchio, I don't ever need to see that again because I don't need to see that shadow. I don't need to see that shadow scream mama as it turns into a donkey. Fuck that shit.
That is a horror show. That is straight up body horror.
Yeah.
But we should probably get back to bat mitzvah.
We should probably get back to you're so not invited to my bat mitzvah. So it's exactly what it sounds like. And this movie is getting very nice rave, borderline bootlicking reviews. And I have to say, I didn't see the same movie everybody else has seen. But why don't you start, Megan, so I can crap on it later?
I mean, you've already started by calling it bootlicking reviews. But yes, I will start with what I have to say, I guess. So I knew as I was watching this, I was like, oh, Dave's not going to like this. I already knew. I thought this was adorable. I thought this was an utter delight. I think that I feel terrible. I don't know. Sandy, the protagonist, I was like, which Sandler child is it? I think she's really good. I mean, in this role, playing a teen girl trying to navigate friendships, first crushes, trying to be a good person. It has touches of kind of it's like the Jewish dear God, it's me, Margaret, because she keeps writing to God and asking for things, but also kind of like in a Dear Diary kind of way. And when her and her best friend, they have a falling out because turns out they both have a crush on the same guy. And her friend's like, oh, I don't like him. But then she sees them kissing, and then she's, outraged. And she's also kind of upset because her best friend is starting to get noticed by the popular girls. And yeah, and then she has a whole thing where she's got to do her mitzvah project, and she's got to do that, and she's got to do acts of service. And so there's a lot like going on with her, and none of it is very surprising. Like, I knew that where this was going. Like, she was supposed to make her best friend's entrance video for her bat mitzvah, and she's making kind of this like, not spoof video, but this terrible video, like showing all of this like awful footage that they like when they filmed themselves at like slumber parties, where she's doing all of these embarrassing things and talking about embarrassing things. And she's like, don't ever show this to anyone, because if you do, I'll murder you. And like, it's a joke. And then she makes it, but doesn't send it. And then, oops, her mom sends it. And then it's seen at the bat mitzvah. And like, of course I knew that was going to happen. Like, of course. So none of it is a real surprise. But I think the way it's done is very much with love. I think it's done with such a good heart. And it's rare that we see Jewish films that are featuring Jewish characters, that are immersed in Jewish life and Jewish traditions. And especially nowadays, we don't see that many, which is kind of alarming. And so to see a girl going through, and not just one girl, but multiple girls going through their bat mitzvah and dealing with the trials and tribulations of, being on the verge of adulthood and teenhood, and how difficult that is being a girl. Yeah, I loved that. And I find that really refreshing. And Sammy Cohen as a filmmaker, I loved her first film, Crush, which is such a sweet and charming queer rom-com. So I very much liked this too. It has kind of a similar vibe. If I had to compare, I like Crush a bit more, but this is just fun, and it's fluffy, and it's warm, and I felt like I was having a big hug. It made me cry when at the end, again, not that anything is really surprising here, but at the end, when Sandy gives up her bat mitzvah for her best friends because she ruined her best friend's bat mitzvah, and they're like hugging, and I was like, oh, best friends. And it was so sweet. And because this film really is about friendship, it's not about finding a boy or stupid boys or whatever. Like, no, it's about friendship, and it's about how to be a good friend, which is not always easy. So yeah, I thought this was delightful and charming. I mean, is it a perfect film? No, of course not. But it's very sweet, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think that the problems I had with it are mostly just because the age of the protagonists is just not an age I'm boy or girl that I'm just really all that interested in. Because the boys in this movie are such little dicks. It's like, just,
That's true.
I don't really want to watch
Mateo.
them.
He seems nice.
Mateo's a sweet kid, but I don't really want to watch them like have their quips and things like that. I did appreciate the focus on the friendship between, I can't remember the other friend's name. Is it Lydia?
Lydia, thank you. I know.
Lydia and Sandy, Sunny, whatever her name is. They call her lots of different things. They've got her,
it's not
Stacy.
even Sandy. What is wrong with me? I'm like calling her the wrong name for the whole thing.
They call her by her her given name, which is not Stacy. But then most of the time they call her Stacy. But then somebody else calls her something. I think Rabbi Rebecca, who is played by Sarah Sherman,
calls her Seema.
In one of the most broad comedic performances I've seen in a long time. I mean, good Lord.
Yeah, that was something else. Anyway.
And I like Sarah Sherman a lot, but I was just
See, I don't. Yeah. I feel like she's like, she's either you love her or you just don't, but.
Well, I don't know if I'd say I love her, but I like her. I always have. So,
but she was going for it in this film, I will say.
She did. She was using this as a. She was giving it 100%.
Yes,
that's for sure.
Yes.
And I liked Lydia's performance. I actually liked Jackie Sandler's performance as Lydia's mom. I thought she was really good.
Oh.
But I just found Stacy kind of unlikable because kids that age are kind of unlikable. The one thing that I really did like was after she, I think it's after the video. I can't remember. It's when she storms home and she runs up to
Yes.
her room, and Sandler goes up there and starts shouting at her about what it means to be a Jew. And I was just thinking, oh, we're getting some meat on this story's bones. And then it turns into a gag,
Yeah.
like, a minute and a half later, where you can hear them screaming at each other upstairs, and not even in a very well timed way. It's just like, all right, we're going to wait to put this in here because the two moms, Idina Menzel and Jackie Sandler, are talking at the front door. It's actually before they show the video. I can't remember what it's even about, though.
She came over to ask about the video.
Right. No, I can't remember what Stacy is and Sandler are having the fight about, or why he's yelling at her. She did.
Oh, was that when she was kissing in the temple with the boy?
That's what it was. Yes, you're right. Yeah, so that was like a great 90 seconds, but then it turns into like a strange comedy bit where the two moms are talking at the front door, and whenever there's a gap in their conversation, you hear either Stacy or her dad, played by her dad, screaming at each other, and it's supposed to be funny, but it's awkward, and it doesn't come together well in the editing, and it's just like, and I just sort of felt like this movie was a lot of like good intentioned stuff that just didn't land for me.
Mm-hmm.
I did think that the ending was very sweet.
Yes.
How, I mean, I'm not sure I've seen a main character in a movie, and I guess to this movie's credit, they've really gone out of their way to make Stacy unlikable,
Yes.
to really make her have to work to redeem herself. In Lydia's eyes, and I appreciate that. And you could argue, I don't know, is giving over your bat mitzvah to your best friend enough? I don't know.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, you did just embarrass her so completely at her own bat mitzvah. I mean, my God, that video. I remember I knew the video was going to end up being watched by everybody just like you did. And but I didn't know how it was going to happen, because when she decides not to send it, she just like, she edits it, she watches it for her own like gratification. Like, yeah, I know that you can be gross too, or whatever she's thinking. And then she's just like, forget it. I'm not going to send, I'm just not going to do the video. I was like, oh, okay. Well, at least she's not like actively planning to destroy Lydia's life.
Right. She's not vindictive and like she's not cruel.
Yeah. She's just being shitty.
Right.
So what's the difference between shitty and cruel? Well, I mean, there's differences.
Sending most of us are shitty sometimes.
Yeah, sending the video would have been cruel. Making it, but not sending it is shitty. So, so in that regard, yeah, I like I said, I appreciate the fact that they made this character just like a little, but I did like at the end how she said, becoming a woman means you don't worry about like boys or this or that. You worry about your friends. And I was just like, well, that's true. So, and I appreciated that sentiment, but it's not that I didn't like it. It's just that it doesn't land for me. The same way, like if I saw Weird Science now, I would be like, fuck this movie, I mean, well, one, it's completely misogynist fucking piece of shit. But if it came out like this week and we watched it, I would be like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. So, and it just happens to be about, boys who are a couple years older. I think they're 15 in the movie.
Yeah, but wait a minute. You love Booksmart, and that's about teens in high school.
Yeah, but they're like 18. These girls are like 12 going on 13. There's a big difference between a 13-year-old and an 18-year-old.
I'm just saying, you do like teen movies sometimes.
Yeah, but I mean, this is I mean, 12 and 13, that's different from,
Listen, I agree. I don't disagree. I'm just saying, talking about girlhood and teenhood and all that you do like some teen movies.
I do, and I liked eighth grade, and I liked eighth grade too. But you know what? I never need to see it again.
Love that movie, but yes, that is so uncomfortable and cringy, and it breaks my heart. Yeah. Whereas this is cringy, but it didn't break my heart. I just thought it was sweet.
It's not intended to break your heart. This movie,
right, yeah. Right. Like I said, it feels like a hug. It feels like I'm eating a bowl of popcorn. Like it just It's a sweet film.
I was gonna say a bowl of Crunch Berries, but all right.
Sure. Bowl of Crunch Berries. I don't eat that, but yes.
Yeah. I don't actually eat Crunch Berries either, but it's the first thing that came to my mind.
It's
when
probably
you said
a better
bowl.
analogy though, because it's sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like eating some cookies. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think it's the only other movie I can think of that came out recently that even deals with bar or bat mitzvahs is Cha Cha Real Smooth. And
that's from the adult's point of view. So.
Right, exactly. So I haven't seen a film that really deals with bar and bat mitzvahs where it's the focal point of the narrative. Right. So it's like, I feel like if I've seen it in a film, it's kind of ancillary, like it's, a side character kind of in the background. So to see a film where this is about that is really pivotal. And I saw this headline where I think it was at the Hollywood Reporter. The producers of the film were talking about how no one wanted to fund this because it was too unique and too Jewish, and which is just awful. Like that's just terrible.
Well, in addition to being awful and terrible, this is silly.
Yeah,
it's like, I mean,
it's absurd thinking that, first of all, I always say this, representation is important. It's not the end all be all, but it is vitally important. And so, of course, Jewish people and Jewish kids would want to see this. But also, like, there are so many universal truths in this film about growing up. So, lots of other people would want to see this too. So it's just, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to think like, oh, that's too obscure, too niche. Like, it's just silly. Like
one of the things that I think is interesting about this, though, is this is made in such a different time from the high school movies that we grew up on.
Oh God, yes.
Like the mean girls in this movie are like, their level of meanness is like, if we're on a scale of 1 to 10, they're like a 3. Like imagine the mean kids from 16 Candles.
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ, these kids would not know what to do. Now, I know that they're in real life is much worse than what goes on in this movie, but as this portrayal, it's just kind of like, well, these mean girls are kind of a joke, which is part of the joke. But
right. And I also love that they're into being socially conscious. Like that's part of their shtick. And I'm just like, that's so funny to me because you're right. I'm thinking about like Mean Girls in, bullies in like other films and other scenarios. And
yeah, I think you're more likely. What's Regina George? Is that her name?
Oh, Mean Girls. Yes,
Girls?
Regina George. Yeah.
That's, I feel, is a much more realistic portrayal of what a mean girl would actually be like, calling somebody a fugly slut, which is one of the funniest lines of like, is a fugly slut is one of the funniest fucking things ever. But mostly because we used the word fugly when I was in high school. So there you go. We didn't use it to be about people, though, which is interesting. Anyway.
Oh, that is interesting.
So, yeah. We usually put an F in front of lots of things because we just thought it was funny. Anyway, do you have other things to say about You Are So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah?
Yeah, I do actually.
Sure.
Much like much like your comparison to Adam Sandler to Cream of Wheat, I'm not always paying attention to what Adam Sandler is doing. But I will say, I like when he takes on serious roles. Like I like his work. I think he's excellent in Uncut Gems. I like him in the Meyerowitz Stories. There's certain performances I really like of his, and comedically I really like Wedding Singer. And I think I think here, maybe it's because he's acting with his own daughters. Maybe it's because this is, a passion project for the fact that he was a producer. I don't know, but there's something very sweet about him that even though I don't think he's hilarious here, I found him very charming and very likable. And I very much liked him as the dad. And I kind of wanted to see more of him in this film, even though I
Yeah.
know it's not his film. But yeah, but I liked him. And I like Adina Menzel. I always do. I always have. And yeah, and I liked his girls in this. I think they're likable.
Well, we should mention that his older daughter, who plays the
Yes.
older daughter in this one, is a riot. Her character is just funny.
Yeah. Yeah, she is. I love the kind of running gag with her and her best friend, how they're watching horror movies and dudes keep coming over and they're like, yeah, we know. We've seen it. It sucks. But they haven't seen it because the next time you see the scene, they're like watching that
They're
movie.
watching that movie.
Yes, yes. The only thing I didn't like was I loved that and I kind of wanted it to stay just the two of them watching horror movies. And then at the end you see the guys with them,
the
and
two
then
guys, yeah.
the drunk mom who's like trying to be the cool mom is like trying to come over and talk to them about Shawshank Redemption, and they're like, "Yeah, we know, we've seen it." Like, yeah, but
Yeah.
it's still a very cute gag.
Yeah, it is. It's a good gag. Yeah.
And they really, I mean, obviously they are really sisters, but they really feel like sisters on screen too, which is nice.
Yeah, the older sister says at one point, she's like, "Man, I was a nightmare, and I never did anything like that."
Yes, which is funny.
That's after the kissing in the synagogue.
Exactly, right. Exactly. And I was thinking about it because I was like, oh, it must be so easy to act, with your dad. It must be so easy to act a lot, against your sister, as your sister. But having said that, it's not always easy. It's probably never easy to actually seem naturalistic on camera. Like, it still works. So the fact that they're able to pull off a naturalistic feel, even though they are, really related, it worked for me.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just, kind of middle of the road, really. So.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's fine, you don't, not everything has to be the greatest thing or the worst thing, I think that's fine.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I think a lot of the B and C storylines worked for me, but the A storyline, I'm like, man.
Oh, see, that's so funny, and I feel the opposite. Like, the A story worked for me, and the B storylines, I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, I just mean the stuff with her sister and.
That stuff worked for me.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like the woman who was at like the retirement home who was pissed off that she didn't get the books. I don't know. Like, yeah, I'm like, I don't care.
She said she didn't get like the one Irish Catholic woman at the Jewish retirement center who didn't get her bookies. And it's like, that's not funny.
No, it's not. Or the fact of like Luis Guzman and Jackie Sandler were Lydia's parents. They're getting a divorce, and he kept bragging about being on dating apps. And I'm like, that's not funny either.
That's not funny either. I wouldn't want to say that in front of spouses or children or anything like that. That's just creepy.
No, keep that on lockdown. So yeah, that was not funny. So that's what I mean. Like, those things I didn't find funny, but I was like, but I almost was like, I don't even care. I'm just gonna kind of tune it out and focus on what I want to focus on.
Yeah. All right. Well, now do you have more things to say about it? You are so not going to. Okay.
I'm done.
All righty. Well, then let's move on to movie number 2 of the night. What is this thing called? Oh, Sitting in Bars with Cake. Yeah. So this is a movie that sounds like it's going to be about sitting in bars with cake, which it is to a degree. Let me give you the description here. Oh my God. All it says is based on the cookbook Sitting in Bars with Cake by Audrey Schulman. I didn't know it's a fucking cookbook. I didn't know that.
It's based on a true story. Yeah. And it's a cookbook.
No, I know it's based on a true story. I didn't know it was like that Sitting in Bars with Cake is a cookbook. Oh boy. Mm-hmm. So this is directed by Trish C. It's written by Audrey Schulman based on her book. It stars Yara Shahidi, and I looked up how to pronounce her name beforehand, and I wrote it out phonetically. Let me see if you Odessa Azione, or Odessa Adlon, as she used to be called, Pamela Adlon's kid. And this is about exactly what it sounds like. These two lifelong best friends who are now in their mid-20s. They live together in Los Angeles. One of them is trying to be an agent at Capitol Records. The other one works in the mailroom, and her plan is to become a lawyer, which is what her parents want to do, but her secret passion is baking, because of course it is. And I know. But she's has trouble meeting guys, and so they have this idea, because she's makes great cakes. Why don't we like take a cake to a bar once a week and we'll try to meet people that way? And it turns into a thing, and you think it's going to be this cute rom-com or whatever, or maybe you think that, I don't know. And halfway through their year of taking cakes to bars, Odessa Azione, I should give the character's name so I don't. Jane is Yara Shahidi. She's our main character. Corinne is Odessa Azione, who is the friend. And she is diagnosed with a brain tumor about 30 minutes into the movie. And it's just like, well, this took a turn. And so the rest of the movie is basically the 20-something version of Terms of Endearment without the overbearing mother character. So
I was thinking Beaches.
Yes, it is more. You're right.
But Terms of Endearment works too.
Yeah. And Corinne's parents are Ron Livingston and a stand-up comedian who I've seen before and whose name escapes me now, but I actually really like her performance, that deadpan performance as the mother. I just thought that she was hilarious. You hated it?
I have to interject on her because I couldn't handle her because she is on Euphoria and she is a drug dealer, like a very powerful drug dealer on Euphoria. She's kind of a disaster, but like she's also very menacing with that deadpan. Like, so it's all I could think about.
Yeah.
But I digress.
And I thought this was one of Ron Livingston's better later performances. We have talked about
without question.
We've talked on the show before about how we're just kind of like, he's okay. Sometimes he's good. Sometimes he's really kind of not good at all.
Yeah, I don't.
And he's really good in this.
Oh, he's excellent. I don't think he's ever been better. Yeah. I liked him a lot. I was like, he needs to play more kind of weird, idiosyncratic dads.
Yeah, weird idiosyncratic dads whose method of, showing affection is to fix everything in your house.
Yes. Oh. It's very sweet.
And so, I don't know, I found a lot of this to be heartstring tugging and et cetera, but I also felt like it was kind of, cloying's not the right word, because it's not cloyingly sweet like some cakes. But some of it just seemed like just disingenuous somehow. I don't know. Like it was trying too hard to show us how close they were. And I think I found Yara Shahidi's performance kind of uneven. I think that Odessa Azione's performance was fine, was actually pretty good. But her character is more of I think it's probably the easier role to play. You know, she's just kind of she's more outgoing. She's not wild, but she's outgoing. She's really friendly. She's not really a dick in any way, which is, I will say, it's really, I kind of like this whole trend of people not being like dicks as a major character trait in movies in the last 5 or 10 years. Whereas, our resident baker, Jane, is much more buttoned up and borderline introverted and just probably the harder role to play, and it kind of shows. Mm-hmm. So, and by the way, if you remember Marley and Me, it ends with a death, and so does this. So, except the human one, and it is very sad. And I did like the epitaph on the headstone, which was "Came for the music, stayed for the cake." That actually did make me laugh.
Cute. It was cute.
I don't know. I'm not really sure how often I need to watch one friend suffer and then the other friend suffer because the other one is suffering. I mean, I feel like how many times are we going to do the cancer movie? They're so fucking sad. Stop, would you please? Jesus Christ. And they also chose a cancer that all famous people seem to be, or famous musicians seem to be dying of lately. the singer from the Tragically Hip and Neil Peart from Rush. But anyway, it is an incurable tumor.
It is.
So,
Speaking
I mean,
about the music. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say there's nothing wrong with this. It's like wrong in air quotes. It's just like, I just don't think it was. This has been going on with me lately. I just haven't been in the mood for some of these movies we've been watching. Just like, I don't want to be, sent. I don't want to be made to fucking have my tears jerked, which.
But you knew this was a tearjerker.
I
did.
Says
it in the description.
I did. And I went into it thinking to myself, oh, I like a good tearjerker. And then I was in it and I was like, I don't want to fucking watch a tearjerker.
You're like, I don't want a tearjerker.
Yeah. It's like, I cry every day because I have small children. Yeah, it's mostly out of stress. But
I thought you were going to talk about the disastrous state of the world. But yes, small children too.
Yeah. You had a different experience, it sounds like.
I don't know if I had a different experience, but what I was going to say is that because you mentioned musicians and Corinne's, well, they both work at the music agency, but Corinne wants to be an agent. And this is such a nitpick thing, but
I think I know where you're going, but go ahead.
It drove me up a wall. I'm like, if you are into musicians and you work for musicians, you would know how to pronounce Rihanna's name, that it's not Rihanna. Just saying. So it was such a nitpick, but I was like, it immediately took me out, just completely out of the movie. So for me, I don't know if I had a completely different experience. I think maybe I did by the end, because the beginning of the movie, I'm like, I'm not into this movie. I'm like, I'm irritated. I'm not into this movie. Where is this going? And I knew it was going to be a tearjerker, and she kept getting headaches, and I'm like, she's going to have fucking cancer. I already know it. I hadn't read anything, but I'm like, I know she's going to have cancer. She's going to have a brain tumor, and she's probably going to die. I kind of saw the whole thing laid out, which doesn't usually bother me. But once Ron Livingston entered the picture, I was like, getting annoyed. I was like, oh man, Ron Livingston, I don't like him. But then he was great, and he won me over. So I was like, oh, okay. I'm kind of into this. And then the movie kind of slowly wormed its way into my heart. And I know what you mean about Yahara Shahidi's uneven performance. And I don't know if it's her performance per se that's uneven, or if it's her understanding of the character and the way she's trying to convey being buttoned up and rigid and kind of emotionally withdrawn and afraid to be vulnerable. I don't know. I can't quite put my finger on it. But I know what you mean. But then about halfway through the movie, I was really invested and really curious about how it was going to unfold, because I knew where it was going, but just how it was going to get there. And then I have to say, the scene where Corinne is basically on her deathbed, and there's nothing they can do for her anymore. She's had all the chemo, she's had all the treatments. She was on a list to try experimental treatment at a hospital. She did that. Nothing helped. So she finally goes home and basically to die. And when she's in her bed and Jane is there with her and she's talking to her so sweetly about how you're the bravest person I know. And sidebar, I kind of love how Jane says that also earlier. And because she's saying I can't do what you do. You're so brave. And I kind of love that Corinne's I'm not brave. I'm just a show off. I thought that was a very smart line. I really appreciated that and that kind of insight. But yeah, back to the really sad part. And she's like, you're the bravest person I know. And you're the best person I know. And, basically you've made my life better. And you're my favorite person. And I love you. And I'm sobbing, the tears are just pouring out of me. And then when she so sweetly says, it's okay. Oh no, before that, she says, no matter where you go in the universe, I will always love you. And I'm just like, oh. And then she's like, you'll always be in my orbit or something. And then she's like, it's okay, you can rest now. And I'm just like, I was a disaster. I just could not stop sobbing.
It was sad and very touching, that scene.
So sad. And I feel I know what you mean. There are certainly parts that you could argue are emotionally manipulative or possibly maudlin. But for me, while the film starts off on a kind of rocky foot, it then finds its footing. And then by the end, I thought it was really lovely. And I really liked that we see their friendship. And I also really like their kind of raw conversation when they're each like, I wish I could be you. Like, which is weird for Jane to say that to her best friend who's dying of cancer. But it kind of makes sense in the way that it transpires and the way it unfolds. But yeah, so I did like this, but it took me a bit to get to a place of really appreciating it.
I couldn't escape the feeling that her best friend getting cancer made her a better person.
Oh, yes.
Which is a thing that I
Yes.
hate in movies. It's kind of like that movie regarding Henry with Harrison Ford. It's like, hey,
Yes.
getting shot in the head made him a better person. I don't really think that's how it works.
Yeah, it's also like the movie Me Before You with Emilia Clarke and Sam what's-his-face. And like,
Right.
yeah, she's like, oh, she meets a paraplegic guy and then he kills himself and then, oh, she becomes a better person. And it's like, wait, what? Like,
Yeah.
it's a very creepy premise.
So that kind of, that rubbed me the wrong way. And the fact that it's, based on a true story, I guess takes some of the curse off it. But
It does. Yeah, it does. Because that
but-
really did happen to Audrey Schulman and her
Yeah.
best friend.
So there's that. I guess I just have mixed feelings about it. But you just like seeing the end of the movie, how it ends with, Jane opening, breaking up with the guy she's been seeing, in a very Nora Ephron, no consequences sort of way.
I thought of that too. Very Nora Ephron-esque.
Yeah. And then she opens up a bake shop that is like super successful. Like Silver, I think it's called the Silver Lake Cake Shop or something like that.
Silver Lake Cake Bar.
Cake Bar. They should have called it Corinne's Cake Bar if you really wanted to fucking salute your friend.
Yeah, you're right.
And it's also got better alliteration.
You're right.
So,
Missed opportunity. I will say that it probably was very successful because there's the drawing, the kind of caricature drawing of her and Bette Midler on the wall. So it's very clear that Bette Midler, not Bette Midler, the real singer, but like her character in the film as
Gave
the
her some help.
agent, she said like, oh, you ever need any help? I'll hook you up. So she probably did. She might have been an investor or maybe she, connected her with somebody. So
yeah, I did appreciate how, as I've gotten older and I've gone to more memorials, etc., I did appreciate how they portrayed the memorial less as a sad thing than as a
celebration.
A celebration / word. This chapter's over, so let's send it out with a bang. Like her other coworker, Corinne's other coworker, who was trying to get promoted above her but couldn't. And I also like that wasn't a big bone of contention between them. That was just a thing.
Yes. Yeah. Me too.
But he shows up with a box of wine. He's like, I got a lot more of these, and it's like, I just thought that was, the more true to life to people of roughly our age than say our parents or grandparents' vintage.
Right.
See vintage with the box wine. So it's not an Evan level dad joke, but it is something. So yeah. Anyway, it was a little hit or miss for me. It sounds like it ended up hitting more for you in the end.
Yeah, I think it earns its ending, and I think it earns where it's going. Thinking this is kind of on a side note, but something I wanted to mention, and you made me think of it talking about the memorial, which I also really liked too. I liked that Yara Shahidi is biracial in real life. She's African American, and her father, I believe, is Iranian. And I like that they had that in the film. Her parents, she has an African American mother and a Persian father, and it's like a little touch, but I just appreciated it. And also, like, a side note, you said this very early on when you were talking about this film about like, oh, she wants to be a lawyer, but not really. She really wants to be a baker. Surprise. And it makes me think of one of my favorite cookbook authors and favorite like TikTokers, Instagrammers is Joanne Molinaro, who is known as the Korean vegan. And she was a lawyer. She is a lawyer, but she was a lawyer at a firm and she quit. And she now cooks, and that's what her like that's her really what her passion was. It wasn't being a lawyer. So I don't know. I kind of that kind of spoke to me too. And I really wanted to know more about the cakes. Like I kind of like that we get all the titles of the cakes and the theming of the cakes. And I was like, these sound like really tasty cakes. So I liked that too. I thought that was a cute touch. I know it's a cookbook and I know it's based on a true story, but I liked that. It kind of reminded me, of I used the terms of endearment earlier, and I said beaches. It reminded me of Beaches meets Miss You Already meets Julie and Julia, kind of like a cooking project meets My Best Friend is Dying of Cancer.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would be interesting if somebody actually wrote a cookbook called My Best Friend Died of Cancer, so I decided to write a cookbook.
Yes.
But what was I going to say? I don't remember.
Oh, I have something. This is again, a minor thing, but I think because we were talking about, again, I'm coming back to the China syndrome, and we were talking about on Patreon, Jack Lemmon's performance and kind of his body acting and the way his body language is, and not so much the body language here, but I do appreciate that we kind of see the progression of Jane's character, in that she is such a buttoned up character, not just emotionally, but physically too, because the kind of running joke in the film is that Corinne keeps trying to get her to wear sexy lingerie. And she's like, just take my underwear, just take it all, because you wear ugly underwear or whatever. And then at the end of the film, when she's at her cake bar shop, she's wearing very unique, kind of flashier clothes. And I was like, oh, she's coming to her own. And isn't that nice?
Yeah.
So it was a nice little touch with the
ghost of her best friend.
What?
I said bullied by the ghost of her best friend.
Yeah, she did say she was going to haunt her.
Yeah. This is what I was going to say. And this is not really here or there, but it will make it sound like it's here or there. I don't really like cake. So, which is hard to believe. Because of the sweet tooth I have, you would think he must like cake. No, not really. So I don't like Italian desserts. I don't like cake. Italian desserts are just like, ha, 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 ha. Which is, I can hear Evan listening to this episode going, what? You don't like Italian desserts? You son of a bitch, which Evan would never say.
I was like, he would never say that.
He would never say that.
Never.
That's the farthest thing from what he would say.
He might be stunned speechless or confused, maybe perplexed by your answer, but he would never say that.
The thing that would be more likely is that we, the next time I see him in person and we were having a meal together, he would order me profiteroles just as a gag, or something like that. Which are really more French than Italian, but you get the idea.
Pizzelli's, tiramisu.
Yeah, you heard me at tiramisu. It's like, we'll have the whatever, and Dave will have the tiramisu. Thanks. So yeah, I mean, a cupcake, sure. It's the moistness factor. We'll go ahead and use the word because they use it in the movie when they're talking about using yogurt instead of another.
That's true.
Thing.
Yogurt, yeah. Yogurt does make for a moist cake. Sorry, listeners.
And sour cream
by the
too.
M-word. Yeah.
Yeah, and sour cream too. Sour cream is great. The Snickerdoodle, delightful cookie. Sour cream, big component. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there is a vegan version.
Yeah, there is. I cook with vegan sour cream. So yes, no, I love it. Yeah. It's delightful.
Yeah. So that's sitting in bars with cake, riding in cars with boys. What are some other movies that I'm forgetting? Hobo with a Shotgun.
Oh yeah, Hobo with a Shotgun. Nice.
Sitting in bars with cake, riding in cars with boys, Hobo with a Shotgun.
That's an interesting triple feature.
Yeah, that would be amazing. It's like if the Coolidge did their horror marathon, and you know what the first two movies are, but you don't know what the rest are. And so at this thing, you'd be like, all right, well, you're going to watch two dramas about whatever, because Riding in Cars with Boys is actually a pretty serious drama.
Right.
No, not Riding in Cars with Boys. I'm thinking of the other one with Drew Barrymore.
Boys on the Side?
Boys on the Side. Yeah. That's actually a pretty serious drama.
That movie is so like intense. Like it's so awful in its intensity. Like, yeah, it goes to some super dark places.
Well, and you want to talk about a movie aside, sorry, patrons or listeners, a movie that has like more plot than it can possibly fit into its runtime. Good Lord,
Yeah.
that movie.
There's just too much jammed in there. It's like a suitcase.
There's
That you're just trying to keep stuffing
so
more
much.
in.
Anyway, so yeah, I don't like cake. So
I don't get it. I do. You've said this before, and you've talked about cupcakes are better because it's like a better ratio. Yeah, which I think cupcakes are much better. I think they're the superior cake, but I do like cake.
Yeah, I mean, think about this. There are people out there who prefer their brownies cake-like rather than fudge-like, and those people are insane. I'm just going to say that on the record. All right?
Yeah, I don't get that. I like my brownies fudgy.
Yeah, it's like 3 eggs, motherfucker. Well, like, what's your problem? Okay. So, I've made a lot of brownies in my life. That's all I'm saying. Final closing thoughts on riding in cars with boys. I did that. That was an accident.
I know. I can tell by your face.
I meant
that
breakfast on the side with a slice of cake. What's your favorite Drew Barrymore movie?
Ooh, Ever After.
Oh, that was good. That was surprisingly good.
Yeah, I would say a close second, even though she's a minor character, but she did direct it, is Whip It.
See, I've never seen that.
Oh, it's
but
so
I would
good.
want to see it. I would want to see it just so I could say to Primo and Secundo when we're watching it. That's what I've decided to call the boys
Primo
from now
and
on.
Secundo, I love it.
Yeah. Well, that's what we called them when they were little, and we wanted to talk about them. And obviously, Ted had no idea, but Henry was just old enough. He'd be like, "What are you guys talking about? It sounds like you're talking about me." So we just started calling him Primo.
I love that you have code names for them.
Yeah. Something I say to the boys all the time is, guys, zip it. When I want them to be the Dr. Evil, zip it.
Whip It.
Yeah. And they know the song Whip It. So whenever it comes on, on one of the playlists I've created or whatever, we sing, when a problem comes along, you must zip it.
You must zip it. I love it.
Yeah.
You must zip it.
Yeah. Right now, Henry's really getting into Tom Petty, which makes me very happy. So anyway, that's Spoiler Piece Theater for this week, unless Megan has more things to say about, I'll get it right this time, sitting in bars with cake.
No, just that I liked it by the end.
Okay. Yeah, and this is another one of those movies that I don't really have strong feelings about. It's kind of like You Are So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah. I don't really have strong feelings, but it's just not my cup of tea,
Mm-hmm.
As a movie, I think it sets out what it wants to do, better than, so that's fine.
That's all you can, I guess. Oh, well, not all you can ask from a movie, but
yeah,
the big thing. Would you would you recommend them?
Well, I don't know. I think that's
fair.
I think it would have to be, you have to have the caveat of just like, if this is the sort of story, if you're looking for a fairly specific comedy with dramatic undertones, you could see You Are So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah, but know that the two leads are 13. So it's like, does that matter to you? Do you need it to be like 10 Things I Hate About You age? I mean, who knows?
Oh, that's such a good movie.
And as far as sitting in bars with cake, it's like, it really depends on how much you want to cry, because even movies that I think are not good, that have tearful moments, they still get to me, even though I know I'm being manipulated beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Right.
So those are two, your mileage may varies, I guess, for me. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I really liked You Are So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah. So for me, there is no caveat. For me, I think it's worth watching. I think it's delightful. I think it's very charming. I think everybody should watch movies about teens, whether they're 13 or 18, especially as girls, because it's hard. Shit is hard for girls. Not that it's not hard for everybody, because it is, but being a teen girl is really hard. And it's funny. I can't figure out, for sitting in bars with cake, I can't figure out Do I feel like it earned its ending because it's manipulative or because I really think it's good? I do think that it does certain things very well. So I do think it earns that ending. But, you could make the argument that it's emotionally manipulative because if it didn't have the cancer storyline, well, it would be a very different movie. But would it have impacted me as much? I don't know. But I do still think that it is a good movie, at least the second half of the movie. So, yeah, I would recommend that too.
Okay. Well, you heard it here, folks. Just so there's no mystery out there. You are so not invited to my bot, but I can't believe how many times I've said that, considering how long the name of that movie is. That's currently on Netflix, and I guess will be forever because it's a Netflix movie. And Sitting in Bars with Cake comes out today on Prime alone. So just know that. We want to say that's the end of Spoiler Piece Theater. Yay. So thank you to our Thank you to our editor, Otto Clamor, for making us sound great every week. Otto, thank you so much.
Thanks, Otto.
Yeah, it's getting late. You can find Spoiler Piece Theater anywhere you get podcasts. If you want to find us on the internet, we're on spoilerpiece.com. That's their main website. On social media, we're Spoiler Piece Theater on Facebook. We're at Spoiler Piece on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. If you'd like to get in touch with us, please send us an email, spoilerpiece@gmail.com, or give us a call
at 862-21-PEACE.
And leave us a voicemail and rank Sitting in Bars with Cake against Terms of Endearment and Beaches. Let us know where it ranks, whatever you want to say, in your cancer cry movie tier. If you like the show, please rate and review us by going to ratethispodcast.com/spoilerpiece, or you can rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It sounds like a trivial thing and we say it each week, but it really does help it. Like each time we get like a rating or a review, it's like we get bumped up in the algorithm stuff, etc., because it means there's audience engagement. Yay. So please engage, audience. Thank you. And if you really, really like the show, please consider joining our Patreon, as I have mentioned several times, and so has Megan. We talked about the China Syndrome over on our bonus episode on patreon.com/spoilerpiece. It was a lot of fun. It's a great movie. We had a fun time talking about it. And my name is Dave Riedel. I write for the Chicago Reader. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and if you want to follow me on the places on the internets, I am at Dave Sees Movies on Letterboxd, Instagram, Blue Sky, fucking Threads. I can't remember the other one. All of them. I'm pretty much Dave Sees Movies on all of them.
And my name is Megan Kearns. I write film reviews for Edge Media Network. I, too, am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association. I'm also a member of Gallica. You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at OpinionS World, and on Instagram and Letterboxd at The Opinion S.
See you next week. I'll see you next week, everyone.
I will be on vacation, so I'll see you in a couple weeks. But come back for Dave and our special guest.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.